The most heartbreaking sign I've ever seen in California is at Doghouse Junction, near the summit of fire-scarred Otay Mountain. Otay is that mountain just south of San Miguel that squats right on the border. The sign is a simple, chilling image of a family desperately fleeing flames. Anyone likely to encounter the sign, which is primarily border patrolmen or their elusive, furtive fray, will instantly understand its meaning. People running from fire. People burn here. Otay Mountain and its sister, border-straddling massif to the east, Tecate Peak, offer refuge to unique species of legally protected trees, birds, and butterflies. But the militarization of the border, along with the recent wildfires, have so defaced the landscape that it's very difficult to recognize its underlying natural beauty. True, the sweeping views of San Diego, Tijuana, and their utterly entangled destinies remain superb. But otherwise, Doghouse Junction looks like a NATO fire base in the Pamirs. A crude helicopter landing pad, a bunker. It's actually a relic of World War II, which always, or most of the time I go up to Otay Mountain, there's a mysterious black dog tethered to a chain. And I've never quite understood the meaning of this, whether this is a joke or the dog is actually some supernatural presence that's endowed this place with the name Doghouse Junction. You occasionally see National Guard Humvees and always ever-lurking green and white Migrant SUVs. The real Afghanistan, by the way, is located only 20 miles further east of Otay Mountain at La Posta, a mountain warfare training facility where the Navy SEALs based in Coronado have to matriculate before they're deployed to fight the Taliban. San Diego's backcountry apparently looks a lot like Afghanistan. The Otay-Tecate wilderness has become Tijuana's back door to San Diego. Now that the front door at San Ysidro has been bolted shut by Operation Gatekeeper, and the Bush administration's absolutely superlative re-erection of the Berlin Wall. If you look at a roadmap from the perspective of labor migrants, the San Diego Mountains seem an obvious alternative to facing death by first in the Imperial Desert or southern Arizona. The promised land of construction jobs and sweatshops is enticingly close at hand, and a greenhorn would easily underestimate the terrain. In fact, the real choice that migrants face is between furnace and labyrinth. Except when one of their helicopters crash, which occurs actually with a startling frequency, La Migra aren't crazy enough to descend into the treacherous maze of inaccessible canyons and deep ravines through which the coyotes guide their clients. They simply park in the truck trails and wait for people to emerge from the shadows, just like lazy hunters jacklighting deer. Sometimes they're joined by their unsolicited allies and fans, the Minutemen Project and its feral splinter groups, now including a few gun-toting loners who permanently stalk the border. As we all know, scores of immigrants or more have died in recent years in the San Diego Mountains. Some from falls, some from dehydration and sheer exhaustion, some in snowstorms in the higher mountains to the east, and others casually murdered for the ease and profit of their guides. But the most excruciating death, and the one as a lifelong hiker in San Diego and California I've always feared the most, is the wildfire that can suddenly overtake its victims in a few minutes or stalk their desperate running figures for hours before they stumble, writhing into the infernal brush. The border mountains are highly combustible, and 4 years ago, a devastating firestorm, part of the 15-blaze complex that's now officially been dubbed the fire siege of 2003 by the state forestry people. One of these blazes scourged Otay Mountain and its rare cypress forest. Those of you who are outdoors types probably know that Otay and Tecate Peak support what ecologists call a refugiate. It's a place where the Ice Age vegetation of the San Diego area has retreated in. and they're these, like the Torrey Pines. These are Tecate cypresses. The only place in the world they exist are on the top of these mountains, and I believe in one location in Baja California, along with lots of other absolutely unusual plants, butterflies. Even the geology is quite extraordinary. The 2003 fire burnt almost all of Otay Mountain. It also burned into the gorge of the Tijuana River. If you've ever taken the tollway from Tijuana to Tecate, it goes through the valley of the Tijuana River. It's actually quite gorgeous and very striking place. All this burnt. But the 2003 fire spared the terrain to its east. Most of Tecate Peak and the series of small valleys and mountains, Potrero, that stretch further east through Barrett Lake, Merino, toward Campbell, and ultimately Acumba. But on Sunday, October 21st, exactly as predicted by most meteorologists, gale force Santa Ana winds produced an eerie reprise of the 2003 conflagration. And I'm sure you've probably seen these satellite images, stunning images of 15 giant smoke columns blown far out into the Pacific. Indeed, from space, all of Southern California, from Point Dume south, seemed to be sending smoke signals to the moon. Yet from most newsrooms and editorial desks, which might as well be on the moon, only the celebrity evacuations in Malibu, and later the mass exodus of population from the affluent, heavily Republican suburbs of northern San Diego County, were deemed worthy of bold black headlines. The Harris Fire, centered on the Tecate-Potrero Valley area, in a largely blue-collar backcountry in which I grew up, that has been stereotyped for decades as San Diego's Appalachia, as well as an infamous immigrant corridor. The Harris Fire tended to rate only whispers and grudging end-of-article references in the Southern California media, particularly when it approached that very expensive community that replaced what was once the beautiful, is the San Miguel Ranch or the Monte Vista Ranch, right there at Hamisho Junction. You started seeing a lot more news about the Harris Ranch when it got near, what is it, San Diego Estates or something like that that's been built there. I tend to cover my eyes when I drive by. Yet, the greatest and most gruesome human tragedy, the fire wait, took place in the early hours of the Harris Fire on Sunday, west of Potrero and along the flanks of Tecate Peak. First, on the southeast side, the fire roared with little warning into the U.S. hamlet of Tecate, the little cluster of houses on the side. Tecate, of course, is now the Mexican side, a big city. But this is the customs post and a few homes. It came in so fast that the immigration officials at the gate actually had to flee for their lives. And a middle-aged man, Thomas Varshak, was burnt to death while saving the life of his teenage son. And somewhere in the vicinity, and I've been unable to find the exact location, it doesn't seem to have been reported yet, 4 firefighters trying to make a stand were overrun by the flames. One of them's, I think they're all still in UCSD burn ward, one of them in critical condition. But at the same time, or possibly a little earlier, possibly a little later, but on Sunday, on the northern flanks of Tecate Peak, near Barrett Junction on Highway 94, the fire front engulfed what has been variously described as either a migrant camp or a large group of immigrants crossing the border. Perhaps it was both. 11 people, hideously burned, managed to reach the highway, Highway 94, or were later discovered by the Border Patrol. They're hospitalized still at the UCSD Medical Center's burn ward, the only such facility we possess in San Diego County, by the way. 4 of them, including a married couple from Guerrero, a young man from Guerrero, and a guy from Chiapas, remain in critical condition, desperately fighting for their lives.